Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your sleep deprived and overly caffeinated host, Tony Cañas. And I have an episode today that I promise you don't want to miss. This one is for the agents and brokers, but everybody has something to learn from today's guest, Mr. David Carothers. Normally, I say the job title when I introduce you, but you do so many things that I wouldn't even know where to start. So,
Lots
first
of
of all,
things, man.
thank you for joining me today. First of all, and thank you for having me on your own podcast recently. And I have a hard time even keeping track of the names of all the things you do. So the podcast itself is Power Producers. Did I get that correct? Okay,
Yep.
perfect. And I do have to say, your setup for that podcast is mind blowing. From the moment you invited me, the experience was mind blowing. A video that guides me on what to do when I sign up. Multiple reminder emails. The day of recording was super easy. Then a swag box, like with customized awesome stuff. And mine is about to go live, we think, coming up in a couple of days. Uh, I can't wait to watch it. But overall, like, I've done almost 700 episodes, and I am learning a lot from going on yours.
Well, you
And
learn from other people, man. You got to rip off what you can. I wish
I,
I could tell you I take credit for all of that stuff, but the reality is I've been on a bunch of other people's podcasts and I know the things that worked well and the things that didn't work well. And I took the ones that did and we implemented them and we make sure we don't do the ones that don't. I mean, it's
okay,
really that easy, but
perfect.
the thing is that's the beauty of having the CRM, right? So with us using everything inside of HubSpot, it's one of the same things I tell my team all the time. When you're dealing with CRM automations and things, sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. You have to define what you want your process to look like and then translate that into how it gets programmed into the CRM. Then you actually do it. Then you have to test it and make sure nothing's broken. And something's almost always broken the first time that you do it. And then you perfect it as you go. So, I think we do have it pretty dialed in at this point, as far as how the process works. But there's always room for improvement, and I'm sure there's somebody else out there that's doing it better. I will tell you, Jim Schubert, who's up in Atlanta by
Love
you,
him. Yes, he's been on the
yeah,
podcast. His
he
podcast is great.
with his podcast, his Agents Academy podcast, Agents Growth Academy, or whatever.
Yeah, Agents Growth
But
Academy.
when I was on that, very, very good experience, like
Yeah,
fantastic. And so I know he was paying somebody a lot of money to do that. And I also knew I had the same systems that the people that he was paying or similar systems. So I just reverse engineered it and do a lot of what I experienced when I was on Jim. So I give Jim a lot of the credit for it.
he's fantastic, and that podcast is currently paused. I believe he's not producing new episodes
Because
right
he's now
now.
doing the Modern Catholic Family
Exactly.
podcast.
I'm sure that it'll come back. But yeah, he's focused on Modern Catholic Family right now, which just launched like, maybe a couple weeks ago. And what a great guy! Absolutely
Yep.
love him, and he happens to be a client of my recruiting firm.
Oh, nice.
Love working with his agency. Yeah, they have it really dialed in on the recruiting and engaging of their employees. So David, you do a million things. Kind of the core of it, the kind of like the original part of David Carothers, you run an agency, right? A commercial lines focused agency.
100%.
Okay.
Now that will always be the core. That's the
I
number one
figured.
priority. So anything that takes away from that immediately gets put on pause or cut completely. So, it's tough, man, because there's a lot of distractions out there. I'm pretty vocal about the fact that I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was in my early 40s, and for a long time I didn't have any idea. Like I just didn't realize that I had something that was needed to be diagnosed.
Mhm.
Once I was, the rest of my life made sense. I understood why I got in trouble in school and at home and why I think the way I do and why I'm a little bit hyper and all over the place.
Uh,
But once you learn that you have that and you know how to or you learn how to manage it and work around it, it's actually not an affliction at all. It's a superpower, man.
Absolutely.
And I
Same.
tell people that because most people get 24 hours out of a 24-hour day. I feel like I get like 32 to 36 hours out of a 24-hour day because of how much I'm multitasking at any given time.
I'm equally ADHD, diagnosed in my late 30s, and I 1000% agree that it's a superpower. I don't have it nearly as dialed in as you do, but it's yes, absolutely. Kind of walk us through the Carothers empire. So
Ah,
the center of it is the agency, and
well,
then
the center of it's my family, man. If
oh
I'm being
well, of course,
completely
of course,
honest with you, family drives everything. The agency just funds the family
of
activities.
course.
So, I take that very, very seriously. We're in an industry that allows us to have a lot of experiences that we might not otherwise have. Freedom of time, freedom financially. And so I take advantage of those things. I'm never going to be somebody who dies with dreams. I'm going to die with memories. I learned a long time ago that when opportunity presents itself, grab it because it may never come back again. So, there are times that I'm going to work a 4-day work week because I want to take a long weekend to go somewhere with the wife and kids.
I
And I
love your Facebook photos when you
Yeah, I
travel.
don't apologize for it, man. I
Love
mean,
them.
it is what it is. It's the whole reason I'm in the industry. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that believe in this massive hustle culture and that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, there's nothing that says you have to go through a period of pain to be successful. You can actually really enjoy life and be successful at the same time. And I'd prefer the latter. Getting up in, at ridiculous hours of the day and only sleeping 3 or 4 hours just to prove that I'm up before everybody else or whatever, that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of life. If anything, it's taken away time you could be doing, other things. So I say that because when um when I had my kids, I set a goal for myself, and that'll speak to kind of why I have my fingers in as many things as what I do. But I always said it would be one thing for me to leave a legacy financially by just leaving, an amount of money or assets or whatever else when I pass away. But what am I really doing for my kids if I do that? If I don't teach them what to do with it or how to run it. And so my goal has always been to help each one of my four kids establish some sort of a business that would get to $1 million in revenue before I die. And if I can teach them how to grow and scale a business, then when I leave them, whatever I leave them that I've built to pass on to their kids, they're going to be responsible with it. They're going to know how to grow it and they're going to know how to make money doing it.
That is
So
beautiful.
that's one of the reasons why I've done the things that I've done. And it's not that I'm going to force anything on them. I want them to do things they like to do. They have to be passionate about it or it's never going to be successful for them. So we've had some really cool opportunities. We have the agency. A few years ago, I spoke at an event out in San Diego about how I find talent from outside the industry in in terms of production. And people heard me talk and immediately wanted to know, did I coach producers? Would I work with agencies? And my answer was initially absolutely not. I want nothing to do with that because I've got my own agency that I'm trying to scale. And we were only about 4 or 5 years old at the time. So we were very much still having some growing pains, but also we were hitting our major growth spurt. Then I got on a plane to fly from San Diego back to Tampa, and it allowed my entrepreneurial mind to think. And I'm like, you know what? We're scaling. I need to be able to train my own producers. And rather than me have to do that physically every time I bring somebody in, why don't I make myself digital? And then I can turn around and market this to other agencies using the same things that we've used to grow our agency here. And that's where Killing Commercial came from. I went out and I launched Killing Commercial from my personal Facebook page with no minimum viable product, just my word that I was building a unique community and that we would have a learning management component, a social network, and some live interaction. And within the first 48 hours, the first 25 agencies had signed up, paid, and joined the community, and they didn't even know what they were signing up for, completely based off of me
You're
talking one
you're a
time and putting
fantastic
some content
speaker.
out.
I
Well,
saw you. I saw you at Better Agency in Phoenix,
oh,
uh,
thank you.
and I had heard a lot, right? And we've been kind of connected, but I had but once I saw you speak in your like fantastic suit, and like you're a very polished speaker, I completely get why a bunch of producers jumped in and were like, whatever it is, we're in.
Yeah, so we realized pretty quickly, okay, there's something here. Let's grow it now. Let's deliver on what we promised, but let's build something special. And so Power Producers was kind of born out of that. The podcast was created to be a lead magnet so people could be hear me speak more regularly and more unfiltered and want to come in and be part of what we were building at Killing Commercial. And so that took on a leg of, a life of its own. And the thing that's interesting, Tony, is none of this would have happened if COVID would not have happened. Um,
Interesting.
I don't think a lot of people realize that. There was a long period of time, like the first 4 years that I had Florida Risk, that my wife has a very good job. She's extremely successful in her own right, probably more successful than I am by a mile. But she works in a company that is in augmentative communication. It's a technology company, so they manufacture the devices that allow people who are cognitively able to speak but are nonverbal due to stroke or ALS or autism. It's the computer device similar to what was on Stephen Hawking's wheelchair that allows
Wow.
people to speak. So I take her anywhere and people say, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" "I'm in insurance and risk management." "What do you do for a living?" "I give people a voice."
Yeah,
I'm
nobody
out.
wants
Like
to
I
talk to
have
you, of
nothing to
course.
do to compete with that. They don't want to talk to me
Of
anymore.
course.
And so
Same world.
Oh
Same.
yeah. So the
Yeah.
thing is, I always told Annie, I said, if you just didn't travel as much as you did, and I could double down and focus on what I'm doing, you would never have to work another day in your life. I said, because the reality is you have a ceiling to what you can earn doing what you're
Uh-huh.
doing, and I don't. And I said, I feel like if I really push the envelope, we could replace your income and then you could work because you want to, not because you necessarily have to. Because what she does because she's passionate about it. She loves helping people. She makes a difference in families' lives. And I mean, that's a very fulfilling job, no matter what it is that you're doing to achieve those goals. And so when COVID came, her travel immediately stopped. And now I had literally a blank canvas to do everything I wanted to do. And that's what I did. And so we built the podcast, we built Killing Commercial. And then as Killing Commercial started to grow, I realized, there's a lot of things that I talk about that people just don't have the ability to do. I've already systematized it. Why not turn around and market that to them? And that, so like when you get into like podcast production, content production, and this enters business number one with my two older boys, crushing content. We're able to take and help agencies create social media content, like I said, podcast, video, blog posts, whatever. We can customize a solution for them that mirrors the process that we use here. And the original intent, honestly, was let's take it out there. Let's charge a fair amount to people so that they can afford it and that they'll actually stick with it because consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
All I was really worried about doing was covering my own nut for what I was spending for the same team to do my
Uh-huh.
stuff. So if I was cost neutral, I was good.
Uh-huh.
And it's grown, it's gotten its own legs and it's done pretty well as well. And I mean, people in Killing Commercial obviously are a captive audience to a lot of what I do. So they've taken advantage of that and they trust me and they trust Grayson. So that's been a really good resource for the agencies who use it. A couple years ago, I bought the domain and social assets for an existing site called Policy T that I was telling you about right before we started. And Policy T originally was a bunch of stupid insurance sayings on t-shirts. And I looked at it and I'm like, they've got a pretty good mailing list. I understand the concept, but the reality is that business is only so scalable, like only so many people. Like if I owned a website that sold nothing but red top hats, I know who my number one customer would be, but I don't think that there's going to be a whole bunch of other people out there. There's only going to be so many people that buy red top hats from me.
I can hook you up with enough magicians now.
There you go.
But yes, it is not a particularly scalable. Like significantly,
Yeah.
there's like 2 million people in insurance, and probably only, I don't know, 500,000 of those might be agents. There's a lot less magicians than that. So yes.
I mean, you and Damon John for sure. So anyhow, I looked at it and I'm like, there's really an opportunity here. So one of the things, the first book that I wrote, The Extra 2 Minutes, was basically about take 2 minutes longer to do any normal job than what anybody in any of your competition's doing, and you will always outshine them.
I have
So
it. Have not read
yes.
it. It's on the
So
to-do list.
anything that, well, you're going to understand why my
Perfect.
podcast experience is like it
Perfect.
is when you read that book. And it's an easy read, man. Like you could get through it in an hour and a half. It's
Yeah.
big print, bright bright colors and pictures for people like me. So I wrote the book, and I wanted that's what we do with the podcast, right? When you come on my show, I want you to remember that. I want to memorialize that, and so every guest that comes
I
on gets a
I have
swag
been
box.
so we have recorded like 700 episodes of this podcast, out of which I've been the host on like 400 of them, maybe a little more. And I've been on a whole bunch of others, and most of them I can't tell you who they were. Yours, I will never forget. Every step of the way. Every step of the way.
And so the idea was get you three unique gifts. You are the only person in the entire world who has those three things. They don't exist anywhere else other than in your possession at this point. And so people started to pay attention to that. That's what helped the podcast grow, was when people got turned into a cartoon, they would share it on social. When they get their swag box, they would share it on social. And so more people would tune in, more people would want to come onto the podcast. It worked exactly the way I was hoping it would. But we looked at it and we said, you know what? We do a lot of stuff for client appreciation. We do things for employee appreciation. What if we were able to take that experience that people who come on the podcast experience and then deliver it to their team members and their clients? So the ultimate goal with Policy T is we're transitioning it from a stupid insurance saying t-shirt site to a client and team member appreciation gift fulfillment site, so that when a
For
new
any
team members,
industry?
any industry, it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
limited
that's a
insurance
massive
at this
market.
point, right? So it could be a realtor. Here, welcome to your new home. Here's my curated gift. It could be a loan officer.
That
It
is
could be anything.
fantastic.
And so the idea is you bring on a new client, your onboarding system sends us a message, triggers it with a zap or whatever, and we have a pre-curated set of gifts that are going to go into a custom box and go out to that person, and you don't have to lift a finger. You're literally just going to have your card charged for us to do that. And that's what we're in the process of developing now. So
Fantastic.
the one thing that I've always been good at, it doesn't matter, and I'm not somebody who like runs around patting myself on the back, but I do know things that I'm good at, and I know things that I'm not good at. And one of the things that I've always been good at is vertical integration with anything that I'm doing. I can take one small idea and turn it into like five different businesses that all feed the nerve center. And a lot of people probably listen to this and think, well, you said your family's first and your agency funds the family, and now you've mentioned like five other things that you're doing. Here's what they don't understand: the number of inbound leads that I get as referrals for having Power Producers podcast. Anytime anybody has a family member that moves to Florida and they listen to my podcast, I get the referral from
And
them
lots of
all the
people move
time.
to
And so
Florida.
it's constantly feeding the
Uh-huh.
agency in addition to, doing its own thing. So that's pretty much everything we've got going now. We've got a couple other social things that we've done. One of the coolest things that I did was when Grayson started working here at the agency and got licensed. We were talking about, ways to create content, but also to help him learn. And we started a series called Carpool Closer that started on TikTok. And basically, it was Grayson asking me a sales question or and I would answer it in a minute or less on the way to work every day. And we would be able to record like five or six of those. And we put them on TikTok, we put them on YouTube Shorts, and we put them on Instagram as Reels. And that thing took off too, man. I mean, we've got some of those that have over 100,000 views, which, in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot, but for
In
an
our
insurance
world,
quest in our
yeah,
world, that's a pretty good
absolutely.
number of people to watch something like that. And so I wrote the extra 2 minutes, I wrote the Dirty 130, and then I decided, you know what? The next book that I'm gonna write is gonna be really cool. So we're gonna use what we've done is we recorded a total of 365 carpool closers. We've taken the transcriptions of those and embellished on them, and I am releasing no later than October 1st this year my third book, but I created it with my oldest son, and it's going to be a daily sales reader for producers. So there's 365 lessons that you can go through. And right now, the intent is to also make it a daily podcast that's only like 10 to 15 minutes, not a ton, but
Wow.
we can go deeper into it so that when you're reading along, if you really want to get immersed into it, we're only going to record 365 episodes of the podcast
Okay.
because there's no reason to do any more. But I think that whole thing, is going to end up being really cool, and it's going to be a valuable resource for anybody who's new, or even, we can teach an old dog some new tricks too.
I'm consistently blown away. Like every time I interact with you, I'm blown away. Truly, truly, truly. What and you didn't you also have some insurance version of The Apprentice kind of thing?
Oh yeah, so we did, and actually, funny you mentioned that, Tony, because that's coming back too. So we
Awesome.
did. Yeah, it's actually really cool. If you're a commercial producer and you haven't been to the Killing Commercial YouTube channel and seen the protege, I don't
The
I don't
protege,
monetize
that's right.
I don't monetize my YouTube channel at all. So I don't get paid for doing
Really?
any of that stuff. I don't want people thinking I'm making money to provide content. I mean, there are ways you can monetize. I monetize through Killing Commercial and Power Producer Basecamp. So I'm good with those two ways. I don't need all my content to be out there. Plus, half the time when you monetize and your keywords are insurance, you're advertising for your competitors on your own
Oh,
content.
that
It really
in
doesn't make
in
sense.
your world that is very
Yeah,
fair.
and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't think about that.
Yeah.
But basically what the protege was, it is a roadmap for anybody who, whether you have experience or not in middle market commercial, to learn from the ground all the way up how to produce significant amounts of middle market commercial business. And it was kind of apprentice style. I promised everybody I would be nice. So when we edited it out, everything was is above board and nice as it could be. I will tell you there were things edited out because the other thing I promised them was I'll never make you look bad publicly, but I'm going to give you very direct feedback on every single week.
That is
So
great.
when you get the video feedback from me, you might get a little bit hurt, if you let yourself, but it comes from a place of love and it's only to help make you better. But I'll never put my direct feedback on the YouTube video just to get people to watch it. That's
That is
not
great.
it's not who I am. And so we did 2 seasons of it. The very first season, and basically what it was is we gave people education. They tried out. We had like 100 and some people send in auditions, and we picked, like, I think the first year we picked the top 12, and then we had a live draft, and I brought in a bunch of my friends that are in the industry: Bradley Flowers, Jason Cass, Ryan Hanley. What I did was I picked somebody who had a microphone, and then I had somebody who was a worker bee that worked with the person who had the microphone, because
Okay.
I knew Bradley, Cass, and Hanley, they're not going to go do the groundwork. They got their fingers in too much other stuff. But I paired them with other people
Perfect,
who
perfect.
who would go and actually work on that. And so they would have their
Uh-huh.
own coaching calls, and they would work on the challenges with their team. And their task was to record that on Zoom, and we would edit that, and they would put it into a Dropbox, and we would turn it into an episode. So it was a series of challenges. It got whittled down to the top five, based on people that, I would vote them off the island myself for all practical purposes. But when it got down to five, they then were challenged to take the mousetrap that they built and go into the real world and produce. So now, for you to make it to the finals, you to be one of the top three, you had to be one of the top three in production. And they had to turn in deck pages. I validated them to make sure that it was actual real deals that were closing and
Three
everything.
months, 6 months? How
And so
long?
they got 90
90
days to do
days.
that.
Okay.
And so, and then at the very end, we actually did the first winner reveal live from BrainShare in San Antonio. Cass had that in whatever year it was. I don't even remember, maybe 21. But we did it live from there. And you people are probably sitting there thinking, well, how much really could somebody do? Well, Derek Hayden, the guy that won season one, wrote $70,000 in agency revenue, agency
In
commissions
three
in
months.
90 days using the mousetrap that he built, and he won the popular vote too. So the way I structured it is you had to prove to me you could produce to get to the finals, but you needed to prove to me you could grow your presence and your brand online to win. And I warned them about that at the very front. The reason Derek Hayden won isn't even just because of the amount of revenue he produced. It's because he invested in his social presence and all of the other stuff all along the way. He knew to play the long game. And I was very clear about you needed to be able to do this to win. You can't just go outproduce the popular vote because there's always going to be somebody who's got a bigger network that's going to get more people to vote for him. He got
Uh-huh.
himself in the newspaper. He got himself on TV interviews. This guy was all on podcasts. He was all over the place, and he did really, really well with it. And so we rolled that into season two, but we had different challenges in season two, different coaches in season two. And then I decided, you know what? Let's let this thing simmer for a little bit because I'm a big believer in anything you do, you need to let your brand recharge at some point. And so we let it sit for the
Okay.
last 2 years, and I've had enough people ask me about it, and there's enough people who have watched the older seasons that now have an interest that we're actually going to do going into fourth quarter this year. I'm going to make the announcement. We're going to take auditions for it, and then we'll start right after the first of the year with season three of it.
Fantastic, fantastic. And then you also have Producers in Paradise. Is that
Oh yeah, so Producers in Paradise, here's the thing, man. There's a lot of people out there yakking about how to produce middle market business. And
absolutely?
there's only so many ways that you can do that, right? And I think that one of the things people miss is you can have the greatest sales skills known to man, but if you don't have your own kitchen in order at home with your family and have the support of your spouse as you're going through this journey,
Okay.
you're never going to be as successful as you can be. You need the buy-in from that person. One of the reasons why my agency exists is because I had my wife's undying support for me to go do it. That's why. And I'll never forget that. And I give her 100% credit for that all the time. And so when we started bringing people into Killing Commercial, it's more of a community than it is a training program.
Okay.
There's a learning management component to it, but we also have a proprietary social network. So we don't operate on Facebook or LinkedIn. We operate in our own environment with our own mobile app, and we can talk to each other, answer questions. We have resource libraries, marketing collateral, all of our stuff exists there. But I knew that in order to make it really work, I needed to give people a chance to have an in-person gathering so that we take the digital world and the real world and have the two of them combined. So this thing also, like a lot of the things that I start a lot of stuff by accident, man, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah,
And then
ADHD.
I see the opportunity and I go
Yeah.
for it. I've probably started 10 times the number of things that you know about that we'll never talk about because
Perfect.
I never really saw the opportunity there,
Thank
so
you
I
for
never executed.
thank you for sharing that. Because uh, if you're just looking out for, if you're just looking from the outside,
Oh, people
uh,
think you hit a home run every time, and
and
it's
even
not
a
the case, man.
superstar, right? Even a superstar bats 300.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
no. And I mean, I think everybody needs to know that, right? Even in
absolutely.
production, you're not going to close every single deal. You're not going to win with every business idea. And I have way more bad ideas than good ones, but I don't I don't miss an opportunity because I'm not afraid to take a chance. And then when I see it, if I see that I can push it forward, I will, and if I don't, I won't. So with Producers in Paradise, it was an accident. Annie and I, every year, so a lot of people know this about me, but your audience may not. My youngest son, Ethan, has very significant developmental disabilities, and it's something that we're passionate about. We talk about it all the time. God gave him to the right parents because he has my fighting spirit, and his mother actually knows how to navigate the system and does that for a living. So he has a life that's probably the best it possibly could be for him, and it's a life that a lot of other kids in his situation don't have because he wasn't born to parents who had that complementary skill set that were willing to go out
Amazing.
and do what we have to do to advocate for him. And so, because of that, if you don't know what it's like to have a child who has that carries that kind of baggage, it puts a lot of strain on a marriage if you allow it to.
Of
So
course.
we have to consciously focus on our marriage and our relationship to make sure that we're in lockstep every step of the way, that we're doing everything we can. And so obviously, we can't travel all over the world, although as he has gotten older, we've been a little bit more daring in far as what we could do. We went to Italy a couple of months ago, and that was the furthest we'd ever been for the longest. But usually what we would do is a few times a year we would fly down to Key West because it was, an hour wheels up to wheels down from Tampa when we fly. And we
Manageable.
were far enough away from home that it seemed like you were away in the islands, but we were close enough that if anything, happened to him, God forbid, we could be back really quickly. And so 5 years ago, we were going to Key West for a long weekend, and there was another couple. I don't even remember who it was at this point, was supposed to go with us, and they canceled because something happened and they needed to stay home. And so I just put out a Facebook post and said, "Hey, I want to let everybody know Annie and I are going to be in Key West this weekend. If you want to come down, you're welcome to be my guest. I have a fishing charter booked. Get your hotel and your meals, but I'll put you on my charter and we can hang." And I said, "I'll even talk enough business that you can write it off if you want
Heck of a
to.
deal.
It's a trip. Just come on down. Let me know you're coming, and we'll make it work." Well, guess what? I had 24 people
Of course.
respond to that, and I'm like, "Oh crap! Here I did. I told these people. I put them. So I ate it. I ate it. I that's my medicine. I have to swallow it. I put it out there. I didn't put any rules.
You're too popular for your own good. Absolutely.
So we I ended up chartering a total of 4 fishing boats that I paid for out of my pocket for all of the people that came down. And we had like a very informal, just sit around, talk shop for a few hours, and then do whatever in Key West the rest of the time. And I didn't think anything of it, man, to be honest with you. And as soon as it was over, as people were leaving, they said, "Well, what about next year? Are we going to do next year?" And I'm like, "Man, let's
It's the
see what we
best
can do."
story ever.
So what happened is, so the whole bottom line is this, man. What we have built is so incredible, and it has nothing, I mean, very little to do with me. But what I realized when I watched people interact, not just the agents, but also the spouses interacting with each other, is we've built a beautiful network for people that they don't even realize the real value of yet, but they will. And the fact that we can take somebody who might be new in the production game and bring them down into an environment where they're going to be immersed with people that are in different stages of their career, but then their spouse is there with people who are in different stages of their career. And the spouses started to build their own relationships. They have their own text threads. I'll be laying in bed at night and my wife will start chuckling at something and I'll say, "What are you laughing at?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm in the Killing Commercial Wives thread." And she's in there with all these other people. But I mean, it's an invaluable thing that if you're starting an agency from scratch or you're a new producer who's building a book, and your wife or your husband is kind of out there, not really with anybody to talk to or any support, and you introduce them to a network that can come in and just give them a hug and say, "I remember what it was like. I might be, almost to the top or on the other side of the mountain now, but you're going to get there. Here's what you can expect, and you can reach out to me anytime you need to." that is very, very humbling for me to
Absolutely.
see, because if I can help them be successful as a producer, that's one thing. But if I can help make sure their relationship stays intact as they do that, there is no monetary value that I can put on that. That is more rewarding to me than anything else that I'll do. So now, fast forward 5 years, and this is the marquee event for the members of the Killing Commercial community, and it's June 19th through the 23rd this year, and every year it is doubled. So we have a couple hundred agents and their spouses coming down. We started taking sponsor money to help make the event possible.
Uh-huh.
I don't take sponsor money for my podcast. I don't take sponsor money for anything that I do other than that. And the reason why is I'm never going to be beholden to what somebody else wants me to say on my podcast,
I
because they're
agree
paying me
completely.
to sponsor it. So don't need the money. I'm happy to keep my freedom of speech. But when people offer, I say, hold that thought. Producers in Paradise is coming up. Let's see what things look like. And so we have a bunch of really awesome sponsors. And what we do with that, my other theory is this, man. My money's made at the agency, honestly. I mean, I make some money from Killing Commercial and the other stuff, but not nearly as much as what probably people think that I make from it, because just the way that it's structured over time, the amount that I'm making for the effort that I put in kind of deteriorates on a relationship deal. It doesn't matter. A lot of people look at that and think that, though. And so what I do is I say, look, you can sponsor, you can be a part of Producers in Paradise. Here are the different things you can do. And, as a result, as long as the people in Killing Commercial can make their airfare and their hotel, everything else is free. There is no event ticket. The offshore fishing is free. The catamaran sunset cruise is free. The eco tour with the snorkeling and the dolphin watching and all of that stuff is free. There's sponsored dinners that are free. The sessions are free, and those are catered with an open bar. So my
That's
whole goal
incredible.
with anything in life is I want people to have the experience, because if you
Okay.
have the experience, you'll always remember it. You'll remember the
Absolutely.
podcast because of your experience. When people come to Producers in Paradise the first time, Tony, I swear to God, man, the legacy insurance people, when I bring a new sponsor in for the first time, they come down here and they're like, what the heck is this? What's going on? This is unlike anything I've ever seen in the insurance industry. And it's intentional. I am literally the anti-conference. I don't want to be an insurance conference. I want to be an experience. I want to be a destination that people want to be at, and I want them to take things back. And you know this as well as I do. Anytime you go to an insurance conference and you come back, the number one piece of feedback that I always hear from people is, man, I really wish I had more time in the lobby or in the bars where I could have the conversations. We spent all of our time in these breakouts and listening to people talk, but the real value
The
to me
biggest
is doing
value,
that.
yes, is
So I
always
flipped
the
I flipped it
networking.
upside down. Instead of spending 8 hours in education and content stuff, we spend 3 to 4 hours, and usually it's all panel discussion, so it's completely audience interacted based on hot topics on where we're at in the industry right now. And once that time is up, you're free to go and do whatever you want. We go back to the pool, we have conversations there, people will go listen to live music and talk. And I realized 3 years in that the way that I could enhance that and make it better is to publish kind of a program guide and get it out first. So you got the gift on the podcast. Anybody in Killing Commercial that comes and the sponsors who come to Key West get a treasure chest. I have a customized box. It looks like a treasure chest. It's got pirate coins in it and all kinds of stuff. But we give a customized fishing shirt with the sponsor logo on there for the people going offshore. If you're on the eco tour and you're female, you get a beach cover up. If you're a male, you get a fishing shirt, but with the eco tour logo. They get this year I decided not to, well, actually, I am doing event t-shirts, but I used to do hats, and the fishing shirts were hoodies. I saved the money from doing that. This year I did the custom neck gaiters that you wear when you're out on the water for to keep your neck from getting sunburnt. And I also had custom polo shirts made with custom fabric that's all of my logos for the different things these people participate in. And everybody in Killing Commercial will get one of those. And then they put this guide in there. And basically, when you sign up, you go through a similar situation that you did when you signed up for the podcast. When you're coming to Key West, we capture all the information, but we also make sure we have your headshot, your bio, and I need you to answer two questions. What's something you're really good at that you can help other people with? And what's something you really need help with that you need somebody to help you with when you're there? And the people will get this 2 or 3 weeks before the event. They'll thumb through it and they'll already know who they want to have conversations with before they get there. So the warming up period isn't there anymore. It used to be that we started the whole event off with an open mic, handing it around, people introducing themselves and answering those questions in real time. Now we have so many people, I don't have the time to hand the mic around and do that. So we went from what started out as an accidental thing to this year, we have a total of 11 center console fishing charters that are going out. So this isn't one of these party boats where 100 people jump on and you drop a line over the side. These are fishing captains that are professional fishing captains. Most, if not all of them, have been on ESPN fishing shows. And it gives these people a once in a lifetime experience to go fish one of the best fisheries in the entire world. So we've grown to that. We now have 2 eco tour boats instead of just one. We have the biggest catamaran we can get that kicks the thing off. And this year we're doing a Miami Vice theme. So everybody dresses up like Miami Vice clothes and we jump on this catamaran and sail around Key West for a couple hours on Thursday evening just to kick the event off. And then really probably one of the coolest parts of what we do is the capstone dinner on Sunday night. We go out and we have 11 boats that are fishing all day. Everything that they catch, we clean it and fillet it, and then we take that and we do a hook and cook dinner. They cook the fish we catch for our dinner that night, and that ends Producers in Paradise. And I get up and I give my corny symbolic speech about how when you go out in the real world, you have to eat what you kill. And many of you today went into deep waters you've never been in before. You'd never been offshore fishing, but you had a guide who knew how to help you bait your hook and knew where to take you and show you how to find the fish and ultimately land them. It's no different than what you do as a producer every day on the street. So tonight we celebrate the bounty of us going out and executing on something many of us didn't know before, but we proved we could do it. And now look what you're doing. You're feeding a couple hundred people with what we've done today. And so that's really, a cool thing that we added to it too. Now this year,
fantastic.
I did something even more over the top, and I have a 12th boat that we chartered, and James Jenkins is going to come in. And a lot of people don't know this about James, but he has a lot of photography background. He did like wedding photography and a bunch of other stuff, but it's a passion for him too. If you've ever seen his content, it's very well produced.
His content's fantastic.
He loves the production quality. So he's bringing his drone. He's brought all kinds of camera equipment and everything else. And he is the one. He's basically professionally producing all of the sessions where we meet, so that the people who aren't able to come can access all of the same content from the community. He's going to get all of the shots of the fishing, all of the shots of the eco tour, the drone shots, everything. And I got him his own boat so that on Sunday he can go around and get shots of everybody doing their thing, and we can produce it. And the thing is, man, it's a win-win for everybody involved. It's not a situation where you're going to go in, and it's funny because this is why I tell you the legacy insurance people kind of freak out about this. It's not one of those deals where you're going to go in and there's a vendor hall. There is no vendor hall. In fact, you really don't need to sell anything. We feature our vendors on the panels with our members. And so we advertise for them in the guide. They get more marketing juice than they're going to get anywhere else based on everything leading up to the event, plus all the content we capture and that we continue to push out after the fact. And then we also share all of that with them to produce as well. But I mean, my goal is this: don't come here to sell my community anything. Come here to build relationships. You don't have to sell your product. They're going to automatically buy from you if they have a need for what you're
It
doing
makes
because
sense.
you've invested in the community and
Mhm.
you've invested in them, and now they truly like you. The conversions we get are insane, and the stickiness that we get for them is insane. And the reality is, it's because it's good people with good products that are solving problems that we have. We're just introducing them to the right people at the right time. And so, rather than sit there with a miniature golf putting green at their booth, hoping somebody will make a hole in one so they can give them a bottle opener, we're putting you right in the mix with the trust that you're going to interact and just
Mhm.
build relationships. That's all you have to do. And so far, after 5 years, it's worked really, really well for all involved.
That is absolutely fantastic. We're gonna run out of time here very soon, but thank you for walking us through this amazing tour of the vertical
So there it is, man.
integrated.
That's the first question you
Uh,
asked. Tell me everything you're doing, and it took
yeah,
us 15
no,
minutes to
no,
get
no, and
through it.
I'm so I'm so glad that we had time to go through all of it. It's so interesting. By the
Well,
way,
people see it, but they don't ever know the story behind any of it. You know
how
what I
would
mean?
you, right? You have to make a documentary to get the
And the
whole story.
reality is, you're the only person. This is the only podcast I've ever been on, including my own, where I've actually went into that level of
Oh, I
detail
love
on any of this
that.
stuff.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. Yeah, your business life deserves a documentary, basically. Like, because it is a master class on doing our industry just fantastically well.
And
Uh,
different.
and exactly. If you ever need a magician for producing
We're
paradise,
just
uh,
you might as well plan on it next year.
fa
Open
fa
it, invited right now. I'll make sure
fantastic.
you're there.
And I'm a very good speaker when it comes to how to engage and retain your people. So I will send you an email on that. Uh, Truly, your operation is mind blowing. Super quick question that I don't want to miss. So very often I get calls on chatwithtony.com, which is my free career advice service. Um, People that want to be producers. Maybe they come from the carrier side, which is my own background. Maybe they're from other industries and they want to get into selling. And the advice that I have for them is somewhat limited because I've never done it. Uh, is killing commercial a fit for somebody who is new to selling insurance, or should they sell for a while first, then look at killing commercial?
So I've actually got two different communities. One of them is for individual producers, the other one's for agencies. So Killing Commercial is for the agency out there that's probably doing 750 to 1.5 million in revenue, heavy
Mm-hmm.
personal lines, heavy small commercial, maybe a couple of middle market accounts that are family friends, or they wrote it when it was small and it grew up and now they've
Mm-hmm.
looked at it and said, "You know what? I want more of that." And I'm willing to invest in it. And over the next 5 years, I look at bringing several producers in, and I just want to build my I want to build my commercial department from the ground up and have the support that I need in order to do that. That's what Killing Commercial is for. And the financial investment to be part of that reflects that that's what it is. I realized pretty quickly there are a lot of people out there that are producers that don't get the support that they need in their agencies.
Endemic.
Yeah,
Absolutely endemic.
it's insane.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those people would reach out to me about Killing Commercial, but it just didn't make sense. I mean, the price point's too high,
10,
and it's
10,000,
it's
right? Last I heard, it might be higher
no, it's
now.
it, it's 25,000 for a
25.
territory
Okay,
to
so
get
it was
in.
a while ago that
And
I had heard
yeah,
10.
and it has been for 3 years.
Okay.
That was at the behest of the community who told me I wasn't charging enough.
Okay,
And
perfect.
the crazy thing is, more people have come in at that price point than came in at the other price point. It's
Okay.
nuts. But I realized pretty quickly that people who came, were calling me, were kicking the tires, and you could almost hear the letdown when I told them. I just don't think it makes sense. This, number one, I don't think you would want to spend the amount of money to come in. But number two, this is like you going into a water gun fight with a bazooka. Like, you don't need all of this
Makes
yet,
sense.
right?
Yes.
So we created Power Producer Base Camp, which is like
Perfect.
killing commercial light. and that's more for individual producers. And I mean, they
Mhm.
get two live calls a month. Say one is sales and the other one is prospecting and marketing, and they go for an hour. We have our own social network for Basecamp, and they also have the ability to get one-on-one coaching if they're working on deals. It's no extra cost for them to do that. And so we that community is kind of getting built in and on its own.
Has that been around for a year?
It's so originally it was Power Producers Mastermind, and then I rebranded it about a year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago, and it has really grown since we did the
And
rebrand and
and
relaunch.
that one, what is the pricing like?
I run all kinds of deals on that.
Okay.
So that one's like 149 or $147 a month.
Fantastic.
Or if you pay for a year, you basically get 2 months free. But I would tell anybody
Hmm.
listening to this, just watch what I do because I'll do like every quarter I do an all day 8 hour boot camp. And so a lot of times if you buy an annual membership to Basecamp, you get the boot camp for free. Or this time if you came into boot camp and bought the boot camp for the day, we would give you a 45-day free trial membership into Basecamp so you could see what that looked
I am
like too.
so happy to learn about this because it's a very common question, and since I've never been a producer, one that I didn't have a great answer for,
Yeah,
and
and we
so
and we give them
important
a
for
learning
the industry.
management system in there too, man. So they get the
Fantastic.
fundamentals they need. They have the access to me. They have the access to other producers. And if I were to be critical of that community at all, the one thing I would say is I don't feel like people take enough advantage of the ability to get the one-on-one coaching and the things that they need. I'd like to see them book more of my time. I know there's probably not a lot of people out there that say that, but there's a lot of value to be had there
No
that I feel
kidding.
like people are missing on. But the calls are usually really good, and the learning management stuff is good. And now that we have started using I can scale what I put in a learning management system much quicker. So last year, I paid to have a custom avatar made of me and have my voice cloned. So now, when I want to create a learning management course, I can go through. Like, I'll give
Uh-huh.
you an example. We went in and we did an entire hour on
Uh-huh.
how to be successful in a trade show,
Uh-huh.
right? Well, an hour's not enough to get into that. So when we were done, I took the transcript of that call, put it into Chat GPT and said, "Give me an outline of a 12 to 15 session learning management course that goes deeper into this." And it basically took all of that stuff and it broke it down to where we could go deeper. And then I had it create the scripts based off of the transcription of the call. And then I can take those scripts and upload them into Synthesia and have it attached to my avatar and my voice. So I'm actually teaching at a deeper level and it's coming from me, but it was all done with AI. And we can create an entire course in under an hour. And if I were to record all of that stuff manually, it would take me days. So we can recreate the course, all the deliverables for them to download, the worksheets, the planning stuff, and all of that, and put that up there. And I mean, we're doing that with select topics in Basecamp and a ton of stuff over in Killing Commercial.
Simply no words. We had a maintenance guy. Simply no words. I am blown away. David, this is fantastic. We started with the center of your life is your family, and I completely agree. Uh, Thank you so much for sharing about your youngest son. I don't believe that I knew that. Uh, and I'm killing my background for a second, so you'll see my mess. But I wanted so I don't have kids, but I have several nieces and nephews, including this cutie,
Mm.
uh, who her name is Bibi, and her mom is my cousin who is like a sister. So Down syndrome, and you reminded me a lot of her story with her parents are both they're both doctors basically, and a ridiculously supportive family in Costa Rica, where I'm from, and I remember when my cousin got pregnant, thinking this is gonna be like when we found out that she was gonna have Down syndromes, thinking, yeah, this is hard, but if there are two parents in the world that are equipped to handle this, it's them two. So yeah, I completely hear you, and it's a beautiful story. Thank you so much for
I want to share one thing as we
absolutely
wrap up, man, because when we go down this rabbit hole, the one thing I know beyond a shadow of a doubt is no matter what podcast I'm on, no what matter what audience I'm speaking to, somebody out there is dealing with something like this right now, and it's new to them, and they don't know what's going to happen, and they don't know what the future
so
holds.
true.
When Ethan was 18 months old, he couldn't keep food down. So we had to have him go in and get a gastro appointment and get an endoscopy to figure out why he couldn't have food down. And I remember going in, it was on a Thursday morning or a Friday morning, maybe. And the doctor came out and said the scope came back clear, but we have all of the specialists for pediatrics here today. And we want to we want to go ahead and admit him and see if we can't run a bunch of tests and find out what's going on. So we weren't prepared for that. I left to go home, get bags packed because obviously we were going to stay at the hospital with him, made arrangements for the other kids. As I'm retracing my steps and pulling back in, I realize I'm pulling into the pediatric cancer unit. And my whole life flashed before my eyes, and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't realize that this was even on the table. What we found was that Ethan had an agenesis of his corpus callosum, which is the superconductor that connects the two sides of your brain. And he also had cerebral palsy. He has ADHD and a bunch of other things, but the biggest concern was periventricular leukomalacia, which is low white brain matter. And your body only produces white brain matter prenatally. Once you're born, two things happen. Either it stays the same or it regresses. If it regresses, you have progressive white brain disease, and it's 100% fatal. So when we got that diagnosis, the only way you know what's going to happen is you take that benchmark and you wait 18 months and you take another benchmark to see if your child is going to live until they're 10 years old or not. So if you're going through the throes right now and you think that everybody out in the world that's had any level of success was handed life, on a silver platter and things were easy, I can tell you I work as hard as I do because there was an 18-month period of my life when I didn't know if my son was going to live. There's people out there that can support you. There's people out there that will advocate for you. You have to reach out to them. I'm happy to be that person for anybody listening that's going through it now. Tony, you're not coming through, man. You muted.
Thank you for sharing that. I can't even imagine. And you're absolutely right. People go through things like that, and having the right support network is everything. Thank you so much
So
for
many
offering that.
people think it's weak to ask for help. Asking for help when you need it is actually a sign of strength.
Yeah, I'm speechless. I cannot imagine more of a mic drop to finish that than this very human moment. Uh, thank you so much. This has been an absolutely wonderful episode, and I so look forward to continue working with you in however we can. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure, man. 100%. I'm glad you had me and appreciate the invite.
Thank you. Have a great one.
All right, brother. You too, man. See you.